On the battlefield, the alien queen froze when her child ran into the human's arms. The sky above the battlefield was torn with fire. Smoke spiraled into the dark clouds, painting everything in shades of orange and gray. Explosions shook the ground, sending chunks of metal and rock flying. Alien war machines clashed with human armored units, each side moving with deadly precision. On the horizon, the silhouettes of alien fighters loomed, wings spread wide, eyes glowing with fury. Commander Alex Harper crouched behind the shattered wall of what had once been a communications tower. His uniform was scorched, his face streaked with dirt and sweat, but his eyes stayed sharp, scanning for movement. Around him, his soldiers fought desperately, firing plasma rifles and launching grenades at alien squads advancing relentlessly. They were outnumbered, but human determination ran deep. He could hear the alien queen, Zyra, somewhere in the chaos, her voice booming over the battlefield. Not through a communicator, but in his mind, somehow carried through a soundless force that vibrated like a pulse. Her army followed her command with terrifying obedience. Every alien soldier moved with precision, as if they shared one consciousness. And then he saw her child. A small, glowing figure darted through the smoke, weaving between the corpses of alien and human alike. Alex's stomach twisted. It was Luma, Zyra's child, no older than 5, with luminous skin that shimmered in the firelight and tiny, delicate wings that flapped furiously. The child was alone, completely vulnerable yet fearless. "Move, Harper." "Cover the left flank," shouted one of his lieutenants, breaking Alex's focus. He nodded, but his gaze never left Luma. A young alien soldier, noticing the child, froze for a moment before raising a weapon. The instinct to attack warred with something else, something Alex recognized immediately. They were trained to kill without hesitation, yet the presence of a child caused uncertainty. That hesitation was all he needed. Alex bolted from cover, sprinting across the battlefield. Bullets and plasma streaked past him, sparks igniting around his boots. He reached Luma just as a piece of debris flew toward the child. He dove, catching the small figure in his arms, rolling behind the remains of a crumbled wall. Luma clung to him instinctively, wings fluttering in fear. Zyra arrived a moment later. Her presence was magnetic, terrifying. She was taller than any human Alex had ever seen, her body armored in natural plating that gleamed like obsidian. Her eyes were like twin stars, burning with anger and fear. She froze when she saw Luma in human arms. "No!" she shouted, but her voice wavered, cracking under the weight of her emotions. Her soldiers hesitated, unsure how to respond. Alex slowly stood, holding Luma protectively. He didn't make any sudden movements. "I'm not going to hurt her," he called out, keeping his voice calm. "She's just a child. She doesn't belong in this fight." Zyra's breathing was heavy. Her hands flexed instinctively, claws ready to strike, yet she stayed rooted in place. Around them, the battlefield continued in chaos, explosions and gunfire lighting up the smoke-filled sky. Her army waited, unsure if they should obey or act on instinct. "Mother," Luma whispered, looking up at her, eyes wide and innocent. "I'm scared." Zyra's heart twisted. That simple word, so human in its emotion, broke something inside her. She wanted to storm forward to snatch her child back and crush the humans, but a part of her couldn't move. The maternal instinct was stronger than war. Alex knelt slightly, keeping his arms around Luma. "She's safe," he said gently. "I won't let anyone hurt her, not even me." Zyra's head tilted, studying him. She noticed the sincerity in his eyes, the unwavering calm in the storm of chaos. It was unlike anything she had expected from the enemy. She had been trained to see humans as weak, unpredictable, and dangerous, and yet here was one risking everything to protect her child. "Do not come any closer," she warned, her voice firm though softer than before. "One step and I will." "Go ahead," Alex interrupted, surprising her. "Take her, but know this, I'm not running. I will protect her until she's back with you safely. I will not let your soldiers harm her either." Zyra hesitated. No one had ever spoken to her like this, not in her entire life. She had fought countless enemies, conquered planets, and commanded armies, yet she had never faced a human willing to defy her and protect what she held most sacred. The standoff lasted minutes, though it felt like hours. Around them, explosions continued, bodies fell, and smoke choked the sky. Soldiers from both sides watched, unsure whether to fight or wait. The tension was unbearable. Finally, Zyra made a choice. She lowered her hands, not out of surrender, but because she couldn't risk harming her child. Her soldiers tensed, unsure of what this meant. "Stay back," she hissed to them. "Do nothing unless I command it." Luma clung to Alex, hiding her face against his chest. "I don't want to fight anymore," she whispered. Her voice trembled, tiny wings quivering. Alex smiled faintly. "No one wants to fight," he said softly. "Not really, let's just get you out of here." But leaving the battlefield wasn't easy. Alien squads were still advancing, human reinforcements were scattered, and every moment exposed them to deadly fire. Yet something had changed. Zyra wasn't attacking, they weren't fighting. There was an unspoken truce, fragile but real. Alex began moving carefully, keeping Luma shielded behind his body. Zyra followed, maintaining a distance but never breaking eye contact with her child. Her soldiers hesitated, unsure whether to intervene, and some began lowering their weapons. "Why are you doing this?" Zyra finally asked, voice quieter now, almost human in its tone. "Because she's a child," Alex replied simply. "Because I know what it's like to protect someone you love, and I won't let her die. That's not about sides or wars, that's just life." Zyra's eyes softened, though only slightly. It was enough to make a difference. They moved through the battlefield cautiously, avoiding the worst of the fighting, yet every step was dangerous. At one point, a plasma blast tore through the wall beside them. Dust and sparks rained down, and Luma screamed, clinging tighter to Alex. Zyra lunged instinctively to cover her child, but Alex shifted, shielding Luma and letting Zyra move alongside without confrontation. The tension was electric. Two leaders, sworn enemies, working together out of necessity. Each step forward was a negotiation, a test of trust that could end in death at any moment. Hours seemed to pass as they navigated the chaos. Finally, they reached a ruined human bunker at the battlefield's edge. It was barely standing, walls cracked, windows shattered, but it offered temporary safety. Alex slipped inside first, holding Luma close, then gestured for Zyra to follow. She hesitated, then stepped through cautiously, eyes scanning every corner. Inside, they collapsed against the walls. Luma curled up in Alex's arms, exhausted and trembling. Zyra leaned against the opposite wall, breathing hard, her glowing eyes fixed on her child. "This doesn't mean I trust you," Zyra said quietly. Her voice carried authority, but also fear and relief all at once. "You are human. You could betray me at any moment." "I know," Alex said calmly, "and I won't." The sound of distant explosions reminded them that the battlefield was still raging outside. But for the first time, there was a moment of calm. Two enemies forced together by circumstance had discovered something neither expected, a fragile, unspoken bond formed in the shadow of war. Luma stirred, peeking out from Alex's arms. "Will we be safe?" she asked. Her voice was small, innocent, yet filled with the bravery only children possess. Alex smiled faintly, brushing a strand of glowing hair from her face. "For now," he said, "but we have to be careful. There are still dangers out there." Zyra watched him, studying his every movement. He was human, yet in this moment he seemed more than that. An ally, a protector, a shield her child could depend on. And for the first time, she questioned everything she had believed about humans, war, and loyalty. Outside, the sounds of battle continued. But inside the bunker, a fragile peace held. The battlefield had not ended, the war was far from over, yet in this moment life, human and alien, had found a fragile thread of hope. And on the battlefield, the alien queen froze, torn between duty and love, as her child rested safely in the arms of a human who had shown her the unimaginable. That courage and compassion could exist even in the heart of war. The bunker was dimly lit, its walls scarred by explosions and alien strikes. Dust lingered in the air, and the faint smell of smoke clung to every surface. Outside, the battlefield roared, but inside, there was a fragile silence, a temporary reprieve from the chaos. Alex Harper adjusted Luma in his arms, letting her curl up against his chest. Her wings twitched nervously, and he stroked them gently. "It's okay," he whispered. "You're safe here for now. No one's going to hurt you." Luma blinked slowly, her glowing eyes reflecting a mixture of fear and relief. I thought they would take me," she said softly, her tiny voice barely audible. "They were coming for me." "They were," Alex admitted, "but I wasn't going to let that happen, not ever." Zyra stood a few paces away, her arms crossed over her chest. She watched Alex carefully, her glowing eyes narrowing. "Do not think this changes anything," she said sharply, though her voice lacked its usual thunder. "You have my child, but I do not trust humans, not fully." Alex nodded. "I don't expect you to." I just expect you to let me protect her while we figure out a way out of this mess." For a moment, Zyra's expression softened. She glanced down at Luma, who was now resting her head against Alex's shoulder. Her maternal instincts battled with her instincts as a queen and a warrior. Every cell in her body wanted to fight, to reclaim her child and destroy the humans who had taken her even for a moment. Yet another part, a part she had never acknowledged before, whispered that perhaps not all humans were enemies. "We cannot stay here," Zyra said finally, her voice firm. "The battlefield will not forget us. My army will be here soon. And there are others, those who would see my child harmed for their own gain." Alex nodded. "Then we move, but we do it together." Zyra's eyes flickered with something akin to surprise. "Together?" she asked. "Yes," Alex replied. "For now, survival comes first. Then we figure out the rest." Reluctantly, Zyra stepped forward. Alex led the way, keeping Luma protected in his arms. They slipped through the broken walls of the bunker, emerging into a haze of smoke and fire. The battlefield stretched before them like a living nightmare. Wreckage smoldered across the land, and the distant cries of soldiers, human and alien alike, echoed across the scarred terrain. Zyra's soldiers were still in pursuit, but they hesitated at the edge of the smoke. They did not understand why their queen had paused, why she was not attacking. Zyra did not look at them, only at her child, whose safety was now more important than victory or revenge. Alex led them through the chaos, ducking behind ruined structures and weaving between fallen machines. Luma clung tightly, her small wings brushing against his chest. "It's scary," she whispered. "I know," Alex said. "But you're brave, Luma, very brave. That's why you're going to make it through this." Zyra followed, moving with lethal grace, scanning for any threat. She noticed how Alex positioned himself in front of her child, how he risked everything to protect her. Something inside her shifted, an unspoken acknowledgement that perhaps not all humans were the same. Suddenly, a wave of alien reinforcements appeared from the smoke. They were rogue soldiers, not under Zyra's command, and their intent was clear. They would take the child by force. Alex froze for a fraction of a second before sprinting forward, positioning Luma behind him as he fired. His plasma rifle hummed, sending bolts of energy that struck the attackers. Zyra joined immediately, her natural weapons, claws and bioluminescent energy, cutting through the rogue soldiers with precision. Together, human and alien fought side by side, their motions complementing each other despite centuries of conflict between their species. Luma watched with wide eyes, too young to understand the complexity of the battle but aware of the danger. She hid behind Alex's back, wings trembling but safe. When the last of the rogue soldiers fell, Zyra looked at Alex with something unreadable. "You fight well," she said. "Not like the others. I fight to protect," Alex replied. "Nothing more." Zyra studied him in silence. There was a calm about him, a certainty that she could not understand. She had faced death countless times, yet watching this human risk his life for her child stirred something in her, a feeling she had never allowed herself to feel. "We cannot linger," Zyra said finally, breaking the silence. "We must move. There is a tunnel system nearby that leads to a safer area. My scouts used it once to retreat during battle." Alex nodded. "Lead the way. I'll keep Luma safe." The tunnel entrance was partially concealed beneath the rubble of a destroyed observation tower. Zyra moved first, her massive form squeezing through the narrow gap with surprising agility. Alex followed, holding Luma close as they descended into darkness. The air was thick and damp, and the only sound was their careful footsteps echoing through the stone corridors. Inside the tunnels, Luma began to relax slightly. "Will they find us here?" she asked. Zyra shook her head. "Not easily," she said, "but there are many dangers beyond the battlefield. You must stay close to the human." Alex smiled faintly. "Don't worry, little one. I won't let anything happen to you." As they moved deeper into the tunnels, the narrow passage widened into a cavern. Strange alien markings glowed faintly on the walls, remnants of an ancient civilization long gone. Zyra's gaze lingered on them, her mind momentarily distracted from the present danger. "This place, it's old," she murmured. "Older than my people, even older than the humans, I think." Alex glanced at her. "We've seen worse," he said lightly, trying to ease the tension. "And we'll see it again. The key is to keep moving." They set up a temporary resting spot in the cavern, shielding themselves behind natural rock formations. Luma curled up on a soft patch of moss, exhausted from the events of the day. Alex sat beside her, keeping a protective hand on her glowing hair. Zyra stayed a short distance away, her eyes scanning the tunnels for any signs of pursuit. "You humans," she said slowly, almost to herself. "You surprise me. I expected fear, weakness, and yet here you are standing against everything, protecting life instead of taking it." Alex tilted his head. "Humans fight, yes, but we also care. That's what makes us strong." Zyra considered his words, her glowing eyes softening slightly. It was not the time to trust him fully, but she could not deny the truth in his statement. In a world built on war and conquest, this human had shown her something alien yet familiar, courage guided by compassion. Hours passed in the cavern. Outside, the battlefield continued its relentless destruction, but inside, there was a fragile quiet. Luma slept fitfully, murmuring in her alien tongue while Alex kept watch. Zyra remained alert, her senses tuned to any threat, yet she did not interfere with Alex's care for her child. Finally, Zyra spoke again. "We must leave soon. The rogue faction is strong, and my army, they may not stop at merely following orders. Some will act on their own." Alex nodded. "Then we move before they can catch us. I have a plan to get you and Luma to a safer zone, human territory, but far from the fighting." Zyra raised an eyebrow. "Human territory? You are proposing that I, queen of my people, enter your lands?" "Yes," Alex said firmly. "For the child's safety, yes, and I promise you will not be harmed." Zyra considered this. It was a dangerous choice placing herself in human hands, but the safety of her child outweighed pride or fear. Finally, she nodded. "We will trust you for now. But one mistake and the consequences will be severe." Alex smiled faintly. "Understood." They began moving again, deeper into the tunnels, navigating twists and turns with caution. At one point, they encountered remnants of alien patrols, fallen soldiers, their weapons scattered, but no living threat. It was a stark reminder of the stakes, and Luma clung to Alex more tightly. "Why is she protecting me?" Luma asked quietly, looking at Zyra as if seeking reassurance. "She's your mother," Alex said softly, "and mothers always want to keep their children safe no matter what." Luma nodded, eyes wide. "Even if she is angry," Alex chuckled lightly. "Even if she's angry." As they pressed on, Zyra's expression remained unreadable. Yet her eyes lingered on the human before her, Alex Harper, a man she could not hate, a man whose courage had earned a small measure of her respect. It was an uncomfortable truth, one that challenged everything she had believed about humans. Finally, the tunnels opened into a hidden valley beyond the battlefield. The air was clearer here, the sky untouched by fire, and the quiet was almost unnatural after the chaos they had left behind. Alex set Luma down gently on the soft grass, letting her stretch her wings. She looked around in wonder, marveling at the peaceful landscape. Zyra stepped forward, her massive form silhouetted against the soft light. She approached cautiously, keeping her distance but allowing herself to observe her child safely. "She's alive," Zyra whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "My child alive." Alex met her gaze. "And she will stay that way, as long as I can help it." Zyra's eyes softened, and for the first time the lines of command and war faded. Here in this quiet valley, a fragile bond had been formed. A human who could protect life, and an alien queen forced to reconsider everything she thought she knew about strength, trust, and love. And in that moment, the first seeds of hope took root, fragile but unbroken, promising that even in a galaxy torn by war, life, and courage could bridge the divide. The valley was quiet, a stark contrast to the chaos of the battlefield they had just escaped. Luma explored cautiously, her small wings brushing against the grass as she ran ahead of Alex and Zyra. Her laughter was soft, hesitant, but it was the first sound of joy the humans and aliens had heard since the fight began. Alex followed slowly, keeping a careful eye on both Luma and the surrounding terrain. "Stay close, Luma," he called. "We don't know if this place is truly safe." "I'm not scared," Luma replied, though her tone was a mixture of defiance and nervous excitement. Zyra moved beside them, silent and alert. She had allowed herself a moment of calm, but her instincts remained sharp. Her child was alive, safe, for now, but the rogue faction that had attacked them was still out there, and Zyra knew that their survival depended on vigilance. "They are not far behind," she warned, her voice low and commanding. "They will not rest until they have my child, and they will not listen to reason." Alex nodded. "Then we need to stay one step ahead." He glanced at Zyra. "We can't fight them off forever. We need a plan, and we need to move fast." Zyra studied him, considering his words carefully. You speak wisely for a human, she said. Very well, lead the way. The valley opened into a series of rolling hills. Patches of alien flora glowed faintly in the dim light, casting eerie shadows. The air was thick with the scent of earth and moisture, and a faint mist clung to the ground. It was a strange, alien landscape, yet it held a quiet beauty that was almost disorienting after the violence they had left behind. Luma ran ahead, chasing a small creature that darted between the glowing plants. Look, she cried. It's like a tiny dragon. Alex smiled, letting her excitement ease the tension. Careful, Luma, don't run too far. Zyra's eyes followed the child, sharp and calculating. She saw the innocence in Luma, the trust placed in Alex, and something in her chest tightened. She had fought countless battles, faced impossible odds, yet this small human had done what no warrior could, protected her child when she could not. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the mist. Alex froze, scanning the hills for any movement. Zyra's body tensed, ready to strike at a moment's notice. From the shadows, a group of rogue aliens emerged. They were heavily armed, their eyes glowing with malice, and their weapons bristled with deadly energy. These were not soldiers following orders, they were mercenaries hunting for power and chaos. Alex positioned himself in front of Luma. Stay behind me, he instructed. We can't outrun them if they catch up. Zyra stepped forward, her wings flaring slightly. Do not underestimate them, she warned. They are ruthless. We must work together if we are to survive. The rogue aliens attacked without hesitation. Plasma beams streaked through the mist, and energy shields flared as Zyra and Alex dodged. Alex fired back, careful to protect Luma while targeting the attackers with precision. Zyra moved like a shadow, her claws cutting through the rogue soldiers with terrifying efficiency. Luma hid behind Alex, her tiny hands gripping his armor. They're so fast, she cried. Alex glanced down at her. I know, but you're safe. Just stay close. The battle was chaotic. Rogue aliens surrounded them on all sides, forcing Alex and Zyra to adapt quickly. Alex's human ingenuity complemented Zyra's alien strength. He created distractions, using fallen debris and energy blasts to divert the attackers, while Zyra struck with lethal precision. Together, they formed an unspoken partnership, each anticipating the other's moves. One rogue alien managed to flank them, rushing toward Luma with a weapon raised. Zyra reacted instantly, leaping in front of the child and slashing the attacker with a single, precise strike. Luma's wings fluttered in relief as her mother shielded her. Mother, Luma cried. You're here, Zyra glanced at Alex, her expression unreadable. Do not let them touch her, she said simply. Alex nodded. I won't, I promise. The rogue aliens regrouped, realizing that brute force alone would not defeat their opponents. They circled, searching for weaknesses, but Alex and Zyra were ready. They moved together, retreating toward higher ground, using the terrain to their advantage. As they ran, Alex noticed the rogue aliens were not the only threat. Strange devices littered the ground, traps left behind by the mercenaries. Some emitted energy pulses, others released clouds of toxic gas. Alex guided Luma and Zyra carefully, avoiding each hazard while keeping an eye on the attackers. This is getting worse, Zyra muttered. They expected pursuit, but they set traps. They are clever than I thought. We can handle it, Alex replied. We just need to stay smart and keep moving. Hours passed as they navigated the valley, fighting off attacks and avoiding traps. Luma grew tired, her wings drooping, but she refused to complain. Alex carried her when necessary, speaking softly to reassure her. Zyra remained vigilant, scanning the misty hills for any sign of danger. Finally, they reached a natural cliff overlooking a wide river. The water glowed faintly under the alien moonlight, and the valley stretched out below. It was a rare moment of calm, and Alex set Luma down gently. Look, he said, we can rest here for a moment. We're not safe yet, but we have a chance to catch our breath. Luma smiled, brushing her wings. It's so pretty, she said. Zyra watched them, her glowing eyes softening. This moment will not last, she warned. They will find us again, but you have done well, human. For now, I owe you my trust. Alex nodded. I'll keep her safe. You have my word. Zyra studied him for a long moment, then nodded slightly. We move at first light, she said. There is a safe zone beyond the mountains. If we reach it, my child will be protected. They settled for the night, keeping watch in shifts. Alex and Zyra took turns staying awake, scanning the valley for any signs of pursuit. Luma slept between them, exhausted but safe for the first time since the battle began. As the hours passed, Alex reflected on the day's events. He had fought against countless odds, faced an alien queen in battle, and yet found a moment of understanding. Zyra was not just a queen or a warrior, she was a mother, willing to put everything aside for her child. And in protecting Luma, he had found something unexpected, a sense of purpose that went beyond orders, beyond duty. Zyra, on the other hand, remained silent. She did not fully understand the human before her, yet she could not deny the truth. Alex had saved her child, and in doing so had earned a small measure of her respect. It was a dangerous acknowledgement, one she could not afford to show freely. But in the quiet moments of the night, she allowed herself to consider it. Dawn approached, casting pale light over the valley. Mist rolled off the river, and the alien flora began to glow softly in the early morning. Alex stirred, gently waking Luma. "It's time to move," he said softly. Luma stretched her wings, blinking sleepily. "Are they gone?" she asked. "For now," Alex replied. "But we have to keep moving. The rogue soldiers are still out there, and we need to reach the safe zone." Zyra stood, her massive form silhouetted against the rising sun. "We move together," she said, "and we must remain vigilant. Trust is fragile and enemies are many." They set off, moving carefully through the valley. The rogue aliens had not given up. They were still tracking them, but Alex and Zyra used every trick, every tactic to stay ahead. They crossed rivers, climbed hills, and navigated dense alien forests. Along the way, they shared small moments of conversation. Zyra asked questions about human customs, about bravery, about why Alex risked everything for a child that was not his own. Alex answered simply, with honesty and conviction. He spoke of honor, of the value of life, and of the belief that courage was not measured by the strength of one's weapons, but by the protection offered to those who could not defend themselves. Zyra listened, her glowing eyes thoughtful. She had fought countless battles, conquered planets, and faced uncountable enemies. Yet here, in the presence of this human, she felt something she had not before, a recognition that strength could exist in forms other than power, that courage could be measured in compassion. As they moved, the rogue aliens finally caught sight of them again, launching a renewed attack. But Alex and Zyra were ready. They fought with a combination of skill, strategy, and instinct. Alex protected Luma at every turn, while Zyra unleashed devastating strikes against their pursuers. Together, they formed an unstoppable team, their differences complementing one another. By nightfall, they reached the base of the mountains that marked the edge of the safe zone. Exhausted but alive, they paused to rest. Luma sat between them, her small wings folded, watching the stars emerge in the alien sky. "We made it this far," Alex said, glancing at Zyra. "The hardest part is behind us." Zyra's gaze softened slightly as she looked at her child. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The rogue faction will not give up easily, but you have done well, human. For now, my child is safe, and that is all that matters." Luma smiled sleepily, leaning against Alex. "Thank you," she whispered. Alex nodded, smiling faintly. "It's my honor," he said. The mountains loomed ahead, a natural barrier between them and the battlefield they had escaped. Beyond them lay safety, but also uncertainty. Alex and Zyra knew that their journey was far from over, but in this moment they allowed themselves a brief respite. They had survived another day. They had fought together, trusted one another, and protected what mattered most. And as they rested under the alien stars, a fragile hope began to take root. A hope that even in a galaxy torn by war, courage, compassion, and trust could bridge the divide between human and alien, mother and protector, child and guardian. The mountains rose like jagged teeth against the sky, dark and silent in the early morning light. Alex, Zyra, and Luma made their way carefully along a narrow trail, the valley below disappearing into mist. Each step was deliberate, cautious, every movement measured. The rogue aliens that had been pursuing them were still out there, and Zyra knew that sooner or later they would be forced to confront them again. Alex adjusted the pack on his back, keeping a firm grip on Luma's small hand. "Almost there," he said softly. "Once we reach the safe zone, we can rest properly. No more running for a while." Luma's wings drooped with exhaustion, but she nodded. "I hope so," she whispered. "I don't want to run anymore." Zyra walked slightly ahead, her eyes scanning the peaks and valleys. She had allowed herself to trust Alex, to rely on his instincts and strategy, but she knew the danger was far from over. Her child's life depended not only on their ability to escape the rogue faction, but also on her willingness to make impossible choices. As they rounded a bend, a sharp cry echoed from behind. Zyra's head snapped back. Rogue aliens had followed them through the hidden passes, moving with terrifying speed. They were fewer in number than before, but desperate and reckless, their eyes glowing with rage. "They're here," Zyra said, her voice low and commanding. "Get ready." Alex placed himself in front of Luma. "We fight together," he said, "no matter what." The rogue aliens attacked immediately, their weapons unleashing searing blasts of energy. Alex fired back, moving fluidly to keep Luma safe, while Zyra struck with her claws, slicing through attackers with precision and force. The narrow trail made maneuvering difficult, but both of them adapted, using the terrain to their advantage. One rogue alien leapt from the rocks above, aiming directly for Luma. Zyra reacted instantly, her body twisting in midair to intercept the attacker. She struck with lethal force, sending him tumbling down the mountainside. Luma clutched Alex's hand tightly, wings flaring in fear and excitement. "You're stronger than I thought," Alex said, glancing at Zyra. "I am her mother," Zyra replied simply. "Strength is required to protect her." They fought their way up the narrow path, every step a battle. Energy blasts and plasma streaks lit the sky as rogue aliens pursued relentlessly. Alex created diversions, using fallen rocks and debris to slow their attackers, while Zyra's sheer power cut a path forward. Despite the chaos, they moved as a team, instinctively covering each other, their trust in one another growing with every strike. At one point, the path split into two narrow trails, one leading up the mountains and one descending into a deep ravine. The rogue aliens approached from below, surrounding them. Alex glanced at Zyra. "We can't hold them here forever. We need a plan to escape." Zyra's eyes scanned the terrain. "We cannot run. They will follow. We must fight strategically and force them to retreat." Alex nodded. "Then we do it together. We can use the terrain against them." Zyra moved closer. "You trust me?" she asked, her voice low, almost hesitant. "I trust you," Alex replied, "because you've earned it." For a brief moment, Zyra's expression softened. She had faced countless enemies, but none like this human. He fought not for glory, not for conquest, but to protect life. And that simple truth had earned her respect, something she had rarely given freely. They positioned themselves at the narrowest part of the trail, where the mountainside dropped sharply on either side. It was a dangerous place to fight, but it gave them an advantage. The rogue aliens had no room to maneuver, and every strike could send one of them tumbling into the abyss. The battle resumed with renewed intensity. Zyra's claws and energy blasts tore through the attackers, while Alex used his human ingenuity to create obstacles and force the aliens into disadvantageous positions. Luma watched from a safe distance, clinging to Alex's arm, her eyes wide with awe and fear. One rogue alien managed to leap onto the path beside them, its weapon raised. Alex fired a precise shot, forcing the alien back, but it recovered quickly. Zyra moved with lightning speed, slashing the alien's weapon from its hands and sending it over the edge of the cliff. "Stay close," Zyra warned Luma. "Do not move unless I command it." Luma nodded, trembling but obedient. She had learned quickly that survival depended on listening to both her mother and Alex. As the battle continued, more rogue aliens approached from behind, attempting to flank them. Alex and Zyra moved with coordination, cutting down attackers and blocking advances. Every moment was a test of skill, strategy, and trust. Finally, after what felt like hours, they managed to push the attackers back. The rogue aliens, battered and demoralized, retreated down the mountain, their numbers diminished and their confidence shaken. Alex and Zyra allowed themselves a brief moment of respite, catching their breath as they surveyed the path ahead. "We've survived this far," Alex said, wiping sweat from his brow. "But the safe zone is still ahead. We have to keep moving." Zyra nodded. "The mountains are treacherous, but they will provide cover. We must be cautious. The rogue faction may regroup, and we cannot afford to be caught unprepared." They continued their ascent, moving carefully along narrow ledges and steep slopes. The terrain was difficult, but it offered natural protection from any remaining pursuers. Luma stayed close to Alex, her small wings flapping nervously as she navigated the rocky ground. As night fell, they reached a plateau with a natural cave system. It offered shelter from the wind and a vantage point to observe the surrounding area. Alex and Zyra set up a temporary camp, using the rocks for cover and keeping Luma close. "This is as safe as we can be for now," Alex said, looking at Zyra. "We rest here tonight and move at first light." Zyra studied him silently, her expression unreadable. Finally, she spoke. "You have done well, human. You have protected my child when I could not. That is not a small thing. I will not forget it." Alex nodded. "I only did what needed to be done." Zyra's gaze softened slightly. "You are different from the others. Your courage is admirable." Alex smiled faintly. "Thank you. That means more coming from you than anyone else." They settled in for the night, keeping watch in shifts. Luma slept between them, exhausted but safe. Alex and Zyra remained alert, scanning the mountains for any signs of danger. During the quiet moments, Zyra spoke about her past, about the wars she had fought and the challenges she had faced as a queen. Alex listened, fascinated, and shared stories of human struggles and triumphs. Though their worlds were different, they found common ground in the experiences of survival, leadership, and the desire to protect those they loved. By dawn, they were ready to move again. The rogue faction was still out there, but Alex and Zyra had gained a measure of confidence. They knew that their combined strength, skill, and trust in one another gave them an advantage that no enemy could easily overcome. As they prepared to descend from the plateau, a distant rumble shook the mountains. Zyra's eyes narrowed. "They are regrouping," she said, "and they are bringing reinforcements." Alex glanced toward the horizon. "Then we have to act fast. We cannot wait for them to catch up." Zyra nodded. "We move together, and if necessary, we fight again. But this time, we fight not just for survival, but for the future of my child." Luma clung to Alex's arm, sensing the tension but trusting him completely. She looked up at Zyra, who gave a small nod of reassurance. Together, they moved down the mountain, prepared for whatever challenges awaited them in the valley below. The rogue faction would not stop. The dangers ahead were greater than any they had faced. Yet in the presence of trust, courage, and a shared purpose, Alex and Zyra knew they had a chance. A chance to protect Luma, to survive, and perhaps even to change the course of the war that had consumed their worlds. And as they descended into the unknown, the bond between human and alien, mother and protector, grew stronger. A fragile alliance forged in the fires of battle, ready to face whatever trials awaited them next. The mountains finally gave way to a wide valley bathed in pale morning. Light. Beyond the jagged peaks stretched a forest of towering alien trees, their glowing leaves casting soft reflections across a winding river. The valley was quiet, too quiet, and yet Alex could feel the tension in the air, a lingering warning from the battlefield they had left behind. Alex held Luma's small hand tightly. "Almost there," he whispered. "Just a little further and you'll be safe." Luma's wings drooped from exhaustion, but she nodded, trusting him completely. Her small body leaned against his arm as they moved cautiously through the valley. Zyra followed closely behind, massive and imposing, yet her eyes never left her child. Her soldiers were nowhere in sight, but the rogue faction's threat still loomed. "Stay alert," Zyra murmured. "The rogue faction is cunning. They will not give up, and my army, they may not understand my decisions." Alex nodded. "We'll be ready together." They had been moving for hours, navigating the dense forest when they noticed movement ahead. Shadows flitted between the trees, figures approaching quickly. Zyra tensed instantly, energy crackling along her limbs. Alex stepped in front of Luma, ready to react. "It's them," Zyra said through gritted teeth. "The rogue faction, they have followed us all this way." Alex scanned the trees. The rogue aliens were heavily armed, but fewer than before. They had underestimated Alex and Zyra's skill and the advantage of the terrain. Still, the attackers' determination was obvious. They would not retreat without a fight. "We can't outrun them now," Alex said. "We have to face them. There's no other choice." Zyra's eyes narrowed. "Then we fight together. Do not let them harm my child." Alex nodded, positioning himself in front of Luma. "You're safe, I promise." The rogue aliens surged forward, their energy weapons blazing. Alex fired precise shots, keeping them at bay, while Zyra moved with lethal grace, cutting through attackers with her claws and bioluminescent energy. The forest became a battlefield, glowing streaks of light from energy blasts illuminating the trees and casting shadows that danced like ghosts. Luma watched from behind Alex, wings flaring nervously. "They're so fast," she whispered. "I know," Alex said, "but we can handle them." "Stay close." Zyra's eyes scanned the battlefield. One rogue alien had managed to flank them, moving through the dense trees toward Luma. Without hesitation, Zyra lunged, intercepting the attacker and striking with precision. The rogue alien fell, and Luma's tiny body shook with relief. "Mother," Luma cried, "you saved me." Zyra's gaze softened for the briefest moment. "Always," she said simply. The battle raged for what felt like hours. Alex and Zyra fought in perfect coordination, human ingenuity and alien strength blending seamlessly. Rocks were toppled to block paths, fallen branches and debris were used to slow attackers, and every movement was calculated to protect Luma. Finally, the rogue aliens began to falter. Their attacks became disorganized, their confidence shaken by the relentless defense and precise strategy. One by one, they were forced to retreat, disappearing back into the forest. Alex lowered his weapon, breathing heavily. "That should be the last of them," he said. Zyra studied the retreating figures, her expression unreadable. "For now," she said, "but there will always be others. Enemies will always exist. That is the nature of war." Luma ran forward, wrapping her small arms around Zyra's legs. "We're safe now, right?" she asked. Zyra knelt down, brushing a glowing strand of hair from her child's face. "Yes," she said, "for now we are safe." Alex watched the reunion, a faint smile on his face. He had risked everything to protect this child, and now he could see the reward, not in victory over an enemy, but in the safety and trust of someone who mattered more than life itself. Zyra stood, her massive form silhouetted against the soft light of the valley. She looked at Alex. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said. "Not just in battle, but in protecting what is most precious to me. For that, I owe you my gratitude." Alex shook his head. "I didn't do it for gratitude, I did it because it was right. Because someone had to protect her." Zyra studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Very well, words are not needed. Actions speak louder than promises, and you have proven yours." The three of them, human, alien queen, and child, continued moving through the valley, reaching a river that marked the boundary of the safe zone. The water flowed calmly, a stark contrast to the chaos of the battlefield behind them. Alex carried Luma across shallow parts, while Zyra used her strength to clear fallen trees and debris blocking their path. Once on the far side, they paused. The landscape opened into a hidden settlement. Humans and aliens alike, refugees and survivors, had gathered in this secluded area. It was a place of fragile peace where former enemies coexisted out of necessity. Luma's eyes widened. "Look, people!" she exclaimed. Alex set her down gently. "Welcome," he said. "This is safe. You can rest here." Zyra's gaze swept over the settlement, assessing its defenses, its inhabitants, and the potential for danger. "This place is well chosen," she said. "It will protect my child at least for a time." As Luma ran ahead, exploring and laughing quietly, Zyra turned to Alex. "You risked your life for her," she said. "And for that I must offer more than gratitude. I will ensure your people know that humans can be trusted, that not all aliens wish to destroy you." Alex shook his head. "I didn't do it for alliances or recognition. I did it because it was the right thing to do. But if my actions can help prevent more bloodshed, then I am glad." Zyra nodded slowly, a rare softness in her glowing eyes. "You are different from the humans I knew," she said. "Your courage, your compassion, it is remarkable." Alex smiled faintly. "I think we all have that capacity. It's just a matter of choice." As night fell over the settlement, the three of them found a quiet spot near the river. Luma curled up between Alex and Zyra, her small wings folding over her. The child's breathing was steady, peaceful, a sound that filled both their hearts with relief and hope. Alex looked at Zyra. "This is as safe as it's going to get for now," he said, "but you'll need to decide what comes next." Zyra's eyes softened. "Yes," she said. "My army may not understand my choice, but my child's life is more important than pride or conquest. I will find a way to bring peace, at least here for now." Alex nodded. "And you won't have to do it alone. There are people here who will help, and I'll help too." For the first time since the war had begun, Zyra allowed herself a small smile. "Very well," she said. "We will face the future together." The stars began to shine over the valley, reflecting in the calm river. The sounds of life, the soft hum of alien creatures, the distant chatter of the settlement filled the air. Alex, Zyra, and Luma sat together, exhausted but alive, the bond between them stronger than ever. They had survived the battlefield, outsmarted the rogue faction, and protected the child from harm. And in the process, they had discovered something far more valuable than victory, trust, courage, and the possibility of a future where humans and aliens could stand together, united not by conquest but by compassion. Luma nestled closer to Zyra, her small hand gripping hers. "I'm glad we're together," she whispered. Zyra's glowing eyes softened as she looked down at her child. "So am I," she said. "So am I." Alex looked at both of them, his heart swelling with quiet pride. He had faced countless dangers, but nothing compared to this. The responsibility, the trust, the connection that had formed between human and alien, mother and child, protector and protected. The night deepened, wrapping the valley in a blanket of peace. Outside, the galaxy remained torn by war, but in this small corner, a fragile hope had taken root. A human had shown courage beyond expectation, an alien queen had chosen love over duty, and a child had bridged the divide between two worlds. And in that moment, the battlefield felt far away. The echoes of war remained, but so did the promise of life, trust, and the possibility that even in a universe of enemies, courage and compassion could prevail. The journey was far from over, but for now they were safe. Together they had faced impossible odds, and together they had won the most important battle of all, the preservation of life, the protection of innocence, and the forging of an unbreakable bond between human and alien, mother and protector, child and guardian.